Hi guys, MF Recap here. Before we start, warning! Spoilers ahead! This movie began in the year 1300, somewhere in medieval Europe. A group of knights and his allies called Axe and Cross, which were on their journey to seek out the witch queen nest in the cursed woods. Upon deeper exploration into the nest of the queen witch, the queen ambushed them and summons the undead to kill them. A fight ensues between them and everyone is disarray. Kaulder was separated by the queen witch, which she is determined to execute him. But Kaulder managed to free himself, sets the woods on fire, and manages to defeat the queen witch by stabbing her chest with the burning sword. However, before her ashed, she curses Kaulder with immortality, so that he may constantly suffers for eternity. Almost a century later, after the Great War, Kaulder is seen on an aircraft where he realizes that the climate is under the influence of magic. He walks through the cabin and finds a young lady who keeps some ancient relic that caused the storm. Since he is a witch hunter, he manages to separate them without difficulty with his gear, which straightaway calms the storm. It is revealed that witches still do exist and are allowed to stay alongside humans if they promise not to use the magic against them. Until now, Kaulder nevertheless serves the Axe and Cross and has the most important challenge to keep peace between humans and witches. Upon arrival at New York, he catches up with his non-public assistant and his only friend, the 36th Dolan, who will be retiring soon after war alongside him for years. Kaulder presents him with an vintage Waterman 402 pen. The 36th Dolan has also chosen a younger and mannered man to replace him as a Dolan. Since Kaulder is a very important asset for the Axe and Cross organization, he asks the young man to make a vow to watch out for him. After that, a mysterious bearded hipster man is seen across the building as the 37th Dolan calls the taxi to return home. The subsequent day, Kaulder receives a call that informs him that the 36th Dolan passed away peacefully the night before. Because of that, the younger man has now officially emerged as a Dolan after finishing the ceremony. The two immediately go to the apartment where the 36th Dolan lives to investigate the motive of the 36th Dolan's death. After a quick investigation, Kaulder cannot find any magic presence in the room. Before he leaves, he comes across 3 dead flies scattered next to each other and senses something suspicious. He then pours a powdery substance, which reveals that the room has been absolutely cursed with dark magic. He then concludes that the 36th Dolan was murdered. Kaulder finds a notebook with bloodstains in precise phrases and suspects the younger man as a culprit. He shares to him that the burn wound on his hand was due to the witches who set his residence on fire. He also adds that Kaulder was the one who saved him from the incident. They then arrive at a very crowded bakery owned by a witch named Max, who infused magic in his desserts to draw customers. Max reveals that he sells the forbidden herb to someone who has a scent of arsenic on his body. Armed with that information, Kaulder tells the 37th Dolan to go home due to the fact he is not prepared yet to face the opponent, and he decides to head to a funeral parlor alone. Upon arrival, he approaches a warlock who is in disguise of a little lady referred to as Elik, who unexpectedly assaults him and runs away. He manages to chase after him and interrogates him. The warlock admits he did not kill the Dolan. Kaulder brings him to a council of witches led by Glazer to decide his fate. Using the card, she concludes that Elik works alone. Proven guilty, they decide to feed him to a terrifying spider-like creature as a punishment. However, Kaulder still can't fathom that he is the one who murdered his best friend. He goes to the 36th Dolan's body and ultimately discovers that he is not dead, but cursed with the aid of an ancient black magic. He realizes that the only way to uncurse the curse is to kill the warlock that casted the magic. He returns to the apartment and rereads the notebook. He discovers the message that Dolan left, ordering Kaulder to be aware of his past. Kaulder goes to a witch bar that is being run by Chloe, and he asks for a memory spell to remember his death. Chloe in the beginning rejects the witch hunter's request, however she concurs to give him the spell after Kaulder states his intention to save a friend. He consumes a cherry that has been injected with a spell, and Kaulder is abruptly brought back to the cursed woods. He enters it and sees his charred corpse laying on the ground. Unfortunately, before he can see any further, a bearded warlock from the real world named Belial pulls him out of the spell, stopping him from seeing further in the memory. Kaulder awakens, discovering himself chained to the floor. He breaks his fingers to free himself and fights the warlock, however he is still under the influence of the spell, causing him to hallucinate. He was not having it. As Belial sets the bar on hearth to destroy all the remaining spell and flees, Kaulder eventually recovers from the spell and manages to get away from the bar. Later that night, Chloe wakes up in the condo and dark forces begin to rip through the apartment's floor, absorbing her into the dark world. Fortunately, Kaulder arrives on time and manages to take hold of the witch's hand, rescuing her. She awakens again, this time in Kaulder's apartment. She blames the witch hunter for the cause of the destruction of her bar and her life. However, Kaulder still wishes to see deeper in the memory to determine out the dark secret of his past. He promises Chloe to hold her safe if she needs to assist him. Since all the substances in the bar are destroyed, she brings Kaulder to one of her friend's place, Miranda. Upon arrival, Chloe is startled when she finds out her colleague was killed and all the plants were taken. Left with no option, they go to a fashion exhibit where Kaulder meets his old friend, Danny K. She betrays him and casts a spell on him, inflicting him to be trapped in his old memories of his family. Using her ability, Chloe enters Kaulder's mind and attempts to wake him up. He returns to the real world and successfully eliminates all the guards inside the room. They then interrogate Danny K to sniff out what Belial's actual motives are. Before they leave, Chloe crushes Danny K's jam, exposing her actual face. After that, Kaulder realizes that Chloe is a dreamwalker, which means that she actually does not need memory potions to get into someone's mind. He manages to persuade Chloe to assist her due to the fact she is too afraid to use the hidden ability. In the first try, she takes both of them into Kaulder's memory to remember the day he was once cursed by the Witch Queen. They found his charred body again, but this time, they leap further. They learn that the axe and cross were well aware that Kaulder is still alive. The hunters try to pierce the witch's heart, but then realize that it will kill Kaulder too as he screams in pain. That's why Dolan decides to keep the heart safe, betraying Kaulder. He finally figures out Belial's actual plot, which is to bring back the Witch Queen into life. On the other side, Belial manages to retrieve the heart and kidnaps Max, and attempt to sacrifice him to the Witch Queen. Kaulder goes to the cathedral to equip himself with the axe and cross weapons. Kaulder arrives and finds Max held up by the Black Plague roots. Turns out that he has been possessed by the Witch Queen. Suddenly, Belial appears from the dark, but Kaulder is prepared. He throws a dagger straight to his throat, straight away killing him. The Queen grabs Kaulder and retrieves the immortality, saying that he simply carried it for her all this time. The Witch Queen is eventually reborn now and attacks Kaulder with the swarm as she escapes from there. Kaulder returns home to find the 36th Dolan has finally reawakened. Realizing that the Witch Queen will cast a Black Plague curse and will release the other witches, Kaulder gives up and accepts the reality that humanity has undoubtedly lost the war. However, the old man is still confident in the witch hunter and encourages Kaulder to do what he's always do best. After gearing up himself with the legendary sword, Kaulder, Chloe, and the Dolan go to the plague tree where the swarm will be released after the spell is done. The queen is also making preparation to release the imprisoned witches. She uses Alec as a vessel to unleash the plague, so Chloe decides to get into his mind to end the awakening. She fights Alec and manages to push him down to a hole, killing him instantly and stopping the chanting. Meanwhile, the massive creature, known as the Sentinel, appears. They engage in a fight, but Kaulder manages to eliminate it easily. He runs deeper to find the queen. She creates an illusional world where Kaulder fights her there. The world finally fades away. Even though Kaulder is no longer immortal, he is still a capable hunter and outpowers the queen. When he is about to blow his remaining strike, the 37th Dolan shows up while maintaining Chloe at gunpoint. The younger man exhibits that he is genuinely a witch, but was born without magic powers, and the witches Kaulder in his childhood killed had been actually his parents. He then hands over Chloe to the Witch Queen, hoping that she will grant him magic in exchange. But the Queen doesn't care and kills him right away. The Black Plague starts to spread throughout the world. While unconscious, Kaulder sees a vision of his family who motivates him to defeat the Queen. He uses the weather runes and continues fighting her. He hurls his legendary swords towards the witch's chest while also being struck with lightning bolts. The Witch Queen is ultimately defeated into ashes, and he turns into immortal again. As her body crumbles, her heart is exposed again. Kaulder wishes to break the heart and is ready to face the reality that he will die. However, Chloe stops him and guarantees him that she will keep the heart safe. At the end of the movie, Kaulder tells the 36th Dolan that he will no longer serve the axe and cross anymore and begs the old man to work for him again. We see Chloe insist on driving and Kaulder smiling, knowing that a new chapter and era is just over the horizon. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to push the notification, like and subscribe.